Our policy recommendations triage the physical aftermath of the attack on 2 U.S. ports, direct national information flows to reassure the public, and commence forensic investigations to mitigate further fallout. Intelligence reports from the NSA, CIA, and private industry have confirmed Baskerville ransomware attacks on the Port of Houston, the Port of Corpus Christi, and the Port of Harcourt in Nigeria. The attack has modified bills of lading and container tags, bringing all 3 ports' logistical operation systems to a standstill as the amount of missing and misdirected cargo continue to rise. 6 other ports worldwide may also be affected by this ransomware attack. However, confirmation of their threat vector is still forthcoming. No ransom demand has been confirmed at this time either. Baskerville Ransomware is the signature product of the 1881 Collective, a Romanian cybercriminal group. There is evidence to suggest that 1881 was fed the malware modification payload for tidal waves by Iranian state-sponsored APT group Manticore. It is unclear the extent of the relationship between 1881 Collective and Manticore at this time. My colleague Jasmine Sturtevant will now brief you on the negative implications and impacts of this cyber attack.
Thanks, Miranda. So like Miranda said, I'm going to walk you through some of the concerns that we have about the current consequences and what we think are going to be anticipated consequences if this cyber attack is left unchecked. So first and foremost, we're concerned about trade stoppages. The tidal wave software vulnerability affects multiple international ports, as Miranda has detailed. And not only that, but it specifically affects an important U.S. partner, Nigeria. U.S. aid to Nigeria is a big part of U.S. diplomacy and our foreign relations with this country. And these trade stoppages could jeopardize the perception of the U.S. in Nigeria. In a similar vein, we're concerned about economic instability. 1881 Collective has been confirmed to have a manipulation scheme within the stock market involving short selling of shipping companies that could lead to volatile markets. We're particularly concerned if there is not a thoughtful and robust public messaging regime that happens concerning this potential volatility in the markets. Third, we're concerned about the unknown scale of the breach. At this point, we're not sure how long the tidal wave vulnerability has been within these systems, and we're not sure how many systems are affected. Because of this, we think it's really important to determine if this has been long-term pervasive access to tidal wave client systems by the Baskerville ransomware, and if so, we need to figure out what that scope is and contain it. Finally, we're concerned about U.S.-Iranian relations. Because of negotiations about the JCPOA, there's already a pretty fraught sense between the US and Iran. Because of this, we're concerned that any attribution to Manticore without robust investigation and a bit more evidence than we have at the current moment, it could jeopardize these already fragile state relations. With this set of consequences in mind, I want to go ahead and pass it off to my colleague Stephen to walk you through our immediate action recommendations.
Thank you. I'll discuss our immediate action recommendations, including data replication, strategic communication, and software vulnerability mitigation. First and foremost, data replication. MIIS Attribution recommends Tidal Wave's customers back up and replicate uncorrupted data on network segmented or air-gapped systems, as we are not yet sure of the complete depth and breadth of this attack. It is possible specific ports or systems may have been directly targeted, and not all customers may be affected at this time. An effective data backup program will allow for a smooth return to operation should additional customers be affected. Pulling on lessons learned from the 2017 NotPetya attack, which affected international commerce and cargo shipments in a similar manner, if it was not for a single data backup, cargo shipping and operations would have taken much longer to return to normal. Moving on to strategic communication. As this is an international event, MIIS Attribution recommends the United States National Central Bureau of the Department of Justice, along with Interpol partners engaged in a strategic information or public outreach campaign to ensure public confidence in governmental efforts. A coordinated public information campaign will assure a top-down information flow and limit any potential misinformation campaigns leveraging this event. Governmental leaders should use caution in attributing or confirming any actors in this event. While we have received signatures indicating signatures previously attributed to advanced persistent threat actors, we should allow law enforcement time to confirm this nexus before any definitive attribution is dispersed. It is possible that this cyber event is backed in part or in whole by a nation state, and any definitive attribution has the potential to greatly damage diplomatic efforts. This being said, we also have no signals or information to dispel these rumors in the nation state. Moving on to software patching. Rapid patching of the tidal wave exploits will aid in denying the threat actor freedom of movement throughout tidal wave customer systems and limit further service interruptions. MIIS-Attribution also recommends that the U.S. National Central Bureau, along with Interpol partners, assist private sector partners with forensic investigation in an effort to determine the full extent of this attack and any potential undiscovered threats. With that in mind, I will now pass this on to Caitlin, who will discuss our secondary efforts.
Thank you, Stephen. So I'll wrap up our briefing with some supplementary secondary measures that we believe could help in assisting in the mitigation of the implications of this attack. So as a temporary workaround while the vulnerability is being patched, tidal wave system operators could begin to explore the feasibility of any offline recording at this time, as to limit any further fiscal implications of misplaced or rerouted cargo. And because we know this rerouted cargo is influencing regions of U.S. interest, such as the Port Harcourt, the DNI could begin to lead a more holistic threat assessment of all potential regions at risk, as to deter any further degradation of U.S. foreign policy interests. To address any potential diplomatic fallouts with the Nigerian government, given the impacts of this attack in Port Harcourt, we believe it would help immensely to assign the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, to work with their leaders to reroute U.S. aid, potentially to on port, in order to swiftly get their citizens the food and essentials that they need, and to reestablish our relationship and partnership in a strong way. Lastly, to supplement the forensic efforts of Interpol and the FBI that Stephen spoke of, we think the FBI could go one step further by collecting Tidal Wave's client information and code through their code base on BitHub to further identify the entire scale and scope of this attack. In conclusion, we highly recommend executing on the immediate actions to prioritize national security of U.S. ports, stabilize economic markets, and contain any infected systems at this time. The secondary measures can be applied in tandem with these immediate actions to support both short and long-term mitigation of the fallout of this attack.